Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Day Tripper Photo Show. And just in time, as Phil shows up, at the very, very second we start the show. That's awesome. Today we've got an amazing guest. This gentleman has been on our show before, and he's done a lot of stuff lately that would really warrant him being on the show. Ron Clifford is joining us tonight, and it's awesome because Ron, who's known for his really inspirational approach to photography and pretty much life in general, what you may not know about Ron is that he loves shooting in the cold. Well, maybe not loves, but
love would be a good word.
Good, awesome, me too. So that's the kind of thing that most people can't say, isn't it, Ron?
Yeah, shooting in the cold is an interesting topic, and I would have to say that probably 8 out of 10 people I talk to, as soon as I mention that I love to shoot in the cold, or I want to go up to Lake Superior this month, or I want to go to Georgian Bay, or I want to take a trip, they're like, oh, fine for you, but I would never do that.
Well, is it the cold that you love, or do you love the powerful images that the cold gives us?
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me clarify by saying I don't so much love the cold, though I do like the fact that I can regulate my heat. Whereas if you're in extreme heat outdoors, you cannot. It's very difficult to get cooler when it's hot in the desert than it is to get warmer. That's right.
That's the argument I always use as well. I mean, you can always take layers off, but you can only,
And so I think most people's experience is that they've gone out in the cold. They thought they were properly dressed, but maybe a little bit misinformed. Got really cold and said, I'm never doing that again. That was a horrible experience. And I don't blame them. It is a horrible experience when you're not prepared.
Absolutely. Good point. And we're going to talk about that. So, Ron, thank you so much for being here. We're going to talk about your trip to Antarctica that you just got back from recently. Find out some fun little stories, hopefully, from that trip. And in general, talk about some different ways that we can stay warm and make better photos and keep our gear safe. Personally, I love it. I don't know. Some people may call me a psychopath. Whoever put that in my notes. I imagine that was Gabriel. Yeah.
Some people like shooting in the cold, and some people. Some people don't like shooting in the cold, and some people are psychopaths.
Well, I love it. I personally love it. Like, I walk to and from work every day, and I'm walking out in the cold all the time in the winter. I look forward to it because it gets dark sooner. I can put up my hoodie, I can put on my tunes, and I don't have to worry about anybody else being outside because it's too cold. Nobody else wants to be outside. So I just love it. But anyway, welcome back, Ron. And, of course, Gabriel, welcome back. You were with us last week. Are you thawed out sufficient?
I wasn't with you last week because the cold decided to come in when my circuit board on my furnace blew up. So that was fun. It was a better last week than this week.
Oh, for sure.
We went about 24 hours without heat, but luckily our house has very little in the way of insulation as it is, so we have little electric space heaters, though. So we just use those to heat the second floor and had an early night.
Well, as long as you survived, everybody's good and safe. Good.
None of the pipes froze, so I'm happy.
Beautiful. Well, welcome back. Thanks for being on this week.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Phil.
Evening.
Okay, so everybody who knows, Phil has been a co-host with us for a little while. He took over when Navi Noom had to back out of the show. She's just too busy. And, we kind of proposed to Phil by text earlier today. So Phil is now officially a third official co-host of the show. Congratulations, Phil. Well done. And he accepted. That would have just been awkward if he didn't.
You said yes.
Who's got the sounds tonight? You're doing great.
That's me. I can't stop myself.
I love it. You should be on all the time. You're our official sound guy. Okay, so just before we get into our show tonight, I'd just like to remind everybody, last week we talked about a survey that we were going to be putting up to ask our community how we can improve the show, what we can do differently, maybe give us some tips for different hosts or different guests that you'd like on our show, maybe some tips for some topics you'd like to talk about. We're actually going to be splitting the show up in this new year. We're going to be breaking it down a little bit differently. We're going to have a topic show, which our next one is going to hopefully be on tilt shift lenses. We're going to do a class, a tips and techniques show, and then we're going to do a review and photo challenge show. So there's going to be all kinds of really cool things coming up in the future with Day Tripper. So if you like what we're doing, please click like on our YouTube channel, subscribe to our channel, share this with some friends that you think like photography. Maybe they'll get a benefit from it as well. And join the Day Tripper photo community on Google+. That's where all the magic happens. It's a fun community where you don't really have to worry about people being judgmental or rude or, you know, that internet. Facebooky, yeah. I mean, it's about photography and making better images. Yeah.
I know you're going to mention this, but I'm going to jump in because I see already a couple of great questions, and keep them coming. Put them in the Q&A, and we will get to the questions. Don't worry. And these are great questions, and I have some answers for them already, but I'm going to wait until we get to that part.
No, actually, you're absolutely right, Ron, and that is literally the next sentence in our notes here. Don't forget to join the Q&A. That, I think, is all part and parcel with the community vibe of our show. And I think, Ron, you would agree with me on this. The community basically means when there's a group of sharing, a group of people falling and relying on each other, having each other build each other up, and then, of course, when you're torn down in your real life, you can come back to it and get recentered and start again. And the whole point of a show like this is to give you this community energy and vibe. So if you have questions, put them out there. Let's talk about it. Let's bring it into the show and make this not just a show about four guys talking, but a show about a community discussing an idea. That's the real big point I think we need to make on that. Okay, so actually, why don't we do that first of all? Christina, thank you for watching. She says, what gloves do you wear? We're going to talk about gloves. I've actually got mine right behind me and a couple little tips about gloves. At what point does your camera stop functioning in the cold? Wow,
yeah, that's a good one.
That is a
technically,
good one.
Or if you do some things to help keep it functioning in the cold.
Yes,
we'll talk about that.
We
I have a picture that I share with people of my camera that was taken a couple of years ago, showing a camera below minus 25 Celsius that's still functioning without the battery being heated.
Was that your 610 up in the Bruce?
Yeah, and I show the picture that was taken seconds before that image of the camera was taken, which has the shiny spot where I got frostbite on my nose on the back of the camera. But yeah, just to note that most NiMi batteries and lithium batteries will stop functioning at about minus 25 Celsius.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, stop functioning, not just reduce.
Not just reduce.
Functionality.
There's a good chance they will completely stop until they're warmed up again, because
Wow.
they just won't produce the voltage you need. And so they need to be warmed up, and immediately they'll come back to life. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Very cool. Well, you know, kind of, why don't we just jump right into this? Let's get into this conversation, because there's a lot we can talk about, and this show could potentially go for about 5 hours, and we try and avoid that anymore, like these days. So, so first question, why shoot in the cold? Like, seriously, what is the point of shooting in the cold?
The best way I can answer those questions is literally doing screen share.
Go for it.
And I am going to do that right now. And using this new Google Photos bothers me, but some good things and some bad things. I couldn't find my albums through the old Google, but I'm going to screen share. And for those of you that think that the winter is cold, bleak, gray, and white, I have a signature image that many of you have seen before.
Mm-hmm.
This is why shoot in the cold. There is no other time of year that you could get an image that looks like this.
It's amazing, and whenever I think about that whole thought, why shoot in the cold, this photo is one of those reasons that I think about it.
Yeah, and as I go through, and I'll just pop out and in and show you different things. We'll look at some full screen ones. This is right on Lake Huron, and the landmass in the background is actually not land at all. It is solid ice pushed up by the force of ice.
Okay.
In the cold. And so when we think about why shoot in the cold, it's to take photographs of things that you cannot otherwise take photographs of. You can't get this doing it any other way. When we arrived on this spot, it was about minus 20, maybe minus 25 degrees. Warmed up quickly. As soon as the sun showed up, it got up to minus 18, eventually to minus 12, and then turned into a really nice day. But there was no time during that photo hike. I was cold. In fact, I was peeling off layers to stay warm until I got to this location where we slowed down and began to shoot. So we're going to get to that image about the camera, and at what temperature does your camera stop working? So this is my D610, and I didn't throw snow on it. It is growing frost.
Wow.
There's a high wind coming off Lake Huron, which isn't completely frozen yet, and the high wind is creating frost mist that's growing on my camera, and on my eyebrows and on my mustache. I just want to point out that at about, like I said, about -25, things would stop. If I wasn't packing it in at this point, I would have to either put in a fresh battery from my inside pant pocket, which is keeping batteries warm. Write that one down. Or I would actually wrap a hand warmer around the battery compartment of my camera with a rubber band and keep the battery compartment warm. One thing I can say is, shooting in these conditions, my Nikon has been unbelievably consistent at performing. And I've had other people with other cameras with me, they've failed at this temperature. And so I just want to point out that I'm not trying to sell Nikon equipment. There's a reason why you have a more robust piece of equipment with more weather seal and that performs in harsher conditions. And it's not that this is the right camera or the wrong camera, it's the right camera for this condition.
That's key. In fact, as you know, Ron, I sell these things, and I might have even helped somebody I know on the show out with this particular camera at one point.
You may have. Oh no!
Do we lose Brian? Nope, never mind.
Yeah, I froze up. I'm back. Yeah. It happens. So one of the things that I always try and do is when you qualify a person who's buying a new camera, you ask them where they're using it, and it's always a good idea for people to think about that when you're out going to buy your next cameras. Where potentially will I be when I'm using this? You don't want a camera that, it's all plastic insides and potentially going to have issues with condensation forming and melting and all that kind of stuff, which is why these Nikons, I love them so much, because they're a sealed camera. They're built for it.
Yeah. And I spent a lot of time, I'll go back to that image for a second, and then the next image. I spent a lot of time in conditions that, in the cold, when it's this cold, it's not as bad on your camera, except going inside from outside. Going out from inside, from a nice warm humid inside to outside, it doesn't hurt the camera, it just gets colder. When you're outside and I'm about to leave and either get in a very warm humid car or go into a warm humid house or hotel, my camera cannot warm up rapidly. This is the one time that having a big baggie can help. That's one method. Put it into a baggie. I'm holding one up and I'm still screen sharing.
I've got mine here.
Put it into a baggie, or leave it in, zip it up into your bag and let your bag up warm more gradually. Don't get right into your bag right away. And so just before you come inside, pop your memory cards out, put them in your pocket, put your camera away, close up your bag, or put it in a Ziploc so it warms up more slowly and doesn't have moisture attack it. Because that literally is the #1 enemy of shooting in cold, is having the camera warm up quickly and get moisture inside the camera.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, electricity and water do not mix.
Yeah, they don't mix. Now, I've been shooting also in other conditions. I would rather shoot in temperatures below -5 Celsius than above -5 Celsius, because then snow is kind of slushy and it melts on a black camera, and your camera gets really rapidly wet. And so I would rather shoot at -10 than at -5.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nicer condition, and I could set my camera down in the snow, and the snow won't stick to it or the lens. Whereas in milder, almost cold temperatures, what I call just below 0, when you set your camera down in the snow sticks to it, and then that's a problem. So.
Yeah, again, the whole concept is if you can keep the liquid water away from the electronics of your camera, that's key. Another really cool thing about shooting in the cold, though, is just the fact that the air is generally clearer. A lot of folks do astrophotography in the wintertime just because it's much crisper. The air is more clear, so the light can pass through better. Do you do any astrophotography as well, Ron?
I actually don't in the winter too much. I'll just stop screen sharing for a second. I'll pop back for a second. I don't do much astrophotography in the winter. But you're right, the air is ultra clear. I like astrophotography in the spring and late fall, though, when the air is crisp and clear, but not right into the winter. The nights can get pretty, it's harder to stay comfortable when the sun's gone down. Mm-hmm. You have to stay moving. I want to show one more image here about, I'm just going to, well, not more than one more, but this one image that I was showing. The reason why I persevere with this is because 5 minutes before that or less, that shot was taken. This shot was taken, and yes, there was some Photoshop liberty taken with it, but the sky, there wasn't much going on there. And if we zoom in on this image, I mean, the snow was sticking and ice is starting to form. This is the beginning of those snow druids. This is before they became those snow druids this is what starts happening. And so we can see that ice and snow and mist in the background here is frozen here, starting to freeze under those trees that will become those snow druids in about a month.
Snow druids. I haven't heard that expression.
Druids. Yeah, I call them druids. That's what they are. So it becomes these. These may be the very same trees that are in that picture a month later after having that icy mist on them for
cool.
days and days and days and days. About the gloves, let's go back to, and of course getting shots like this. You just won't get shots like this if you just don't show up. And we can see a sundog there a little bit in the background, and the sun hitting this, because the sun stays very low and literally gives you all day of really interesting light instead of just the morning and just the evening in the northern hemisphere, like where we are, and further north.
That's a great shot. I love how the sundog just borders that top corner like that.
Yeah, I'll show you another one. Again, the same area where ice forms and begins to create just really, really super unique stuff.
You can kind of see figures in that one there.
Yeah, I see, like, this is why I say, like, there's like a, just reminds me of, what's that that movie with the, I can't think of the name of the movie, but,
I don't know. I'm seeing some crazy stuff in that photo.
You know, things like this where ice is frozen rapidly and a little bit of wave action breaks it up, and you get beautiful, interesting shots. And like I say, snow and ice are not just white and gray. There's tons of color, especially at the moments when the sun peeks out or there's, you know, those dramatic skies.
One of the things I like about it is that it creates a lot of contrast. Like when there's no snow and you see everything, contrast is kind of lost in trees and so on. But when there's snow there, it makes the darker parts stand out that much more. It kind of draws focus to a specific thing, which you definitely get in the shots that you're showing us.
Yeah, this shot actually toward Rainbow Falls. It's a bit of an irony that there's a double rainbow shooting toward Rainbow Bridge, in Niagara Falls. You don't have to go to these exotic northern places or to Antarctica to get some really great winter photography. Water takes on a great quality in the cold. It goes darker and the colors saturate, and you get these greens and aquas and blackish colors that you just don't get in the summertime.
You can almost see plumes of ice coming up out of the water in that last one.
Yeah, shots like this kind of shot and this kind of shot where
awesome.
You just you got to be there. You just got to be there. It was whipping cold that day, just whipping cold. But I was dressed well. So I want to move to that discussion about the clothing and get to Christina. Hi, Christina. Christina's question about the gloves and other gear, because winter photography, more than any other photography. Let me come back. I'm gonna beg you to spend as much as your budget can afford on equipment, because it's the one time when equipment can save your life.
For sure.
Now, it's not that you have to spend thousands of dollars. You can. There's no question you can. But there's certain parts of your gear you don't want to skimp on. And so let's start that conversation, and we'll get right to the outerwear. But let's start with, and I'm not going to undress completely, with underwear. And
thermal.
The thermal underlayer. Here's my favorite, and I got to tell you, I tested these this year, and absolutely the best that I have tried, and not the most expensive. Mark's Warehouse has a line. Now, where would you go for cold weather gear? You could go to Mountain Equipment Co-op or some of the outfitters, or you could go to this store that outfits people who work in cold weather every day in Ontario, in our country, in our towns and cities, and that's Markworks Warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pleasantly shocked at the performance of their T-Max underlayers. Shocked. They're not cheap, but they're not on the high end of the scale. And they performed exceptionally well and rivaled more expensive gear. So I just want to throw that out there.
That's also where I got the hand warmers. They usually sell them in boxes there for like $15 for a whole box of them.
Yeah, I did. I bought them there, hand and foot warmers.
Yep.
And don't feel like you're being a sissy if you wear these. Like, bring these with you. I would rather you put hand warmers and tape them to the inside of your coat and your hat if you had to have an enjoyable experience and get shots you've never got. That's really important.
They even have, if budget isn't a worry for you, they have jackets and pants that you can plug in, and they have electric warmers built right into them.
Yeah,
cool.
in one day I had 2 customers come in that had them. There's like a little logo right here, and it's glowing when it's on, and it's like it's a heated jacket. It's pretty cool.
That's really cool. I would be down with that. Give me a hat, jacket, pants, and boots with that. I'm out there shooting all day.
Yeah. I
Ron,
know
you
we're on
mentioned
limited
about-
time. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you mentioned about the hand warmers don't feel like you're a sissy or something, but if you wear body warmers, you might want to feel like you're a sissy because the body warmers. That's just taking it too far,
You know what? I'm going to make a remark, and I know all of you that know me won't take this as a sexist remark, but women have a harder time staying warm than men, mostly, in general. I know just about every time I've run a cold weather workshop, women need more cold weather protection, and I encourage them to put in the hand warmers early and don't even worry about it, because circulation, and I'm not saying that to be sexist, and not all women qualify there, but women generally have a harder time staying warm. And so please use those. They're not extremely expensive, probably the best piece of gear you can have when the weather turns on you when you're out there.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to say, Brian, I know you're on limited time, and I'd love to run through the layer, like just go from bottom to top, and then we'll just field more questions.
Go for it.
And so talking about that, I also use a sock liner. This isn't a full sock. It's known as a sock liner, and it's more or less propylene and lycra. And the purpose of this sock is not to stay warm, it's to take moisture away from my foot. Because if your feet get wet, your feet get cold, and then the whole trip is ruined.
Yeah, right.
So this takes moisture away from my feet, and then I go between 3 different levels of sock. This, or the big boy there. And these ones here are the Mark's Work Warehouse T-Max. These ones here were, I think, Mountain Equipment Co-op. I got them. They weren't cheap. I think they were like $12 a pair.
I've got the T-Max ones from Mark's as well.
The T-Max, like I say, I just about fell over at the performance. I just want to fill my whole wardrobe with these socks.
Mm-hmm. And they're great as like slippers too.
I was going to say, I have some I use as slippers.
Yeah,
I'm wearing right now.
So the feet, start at the feet. If your feet are warm, you are warm. If your feet are cold, you are cold, period. That's all there is to it. I'm going to stay on the feet for just a second longer. I have boots. These are called, and I'll hold this up. This is what I used in Antarctica. These are called, what are they, Arctic, they're Muck boots. Muck is a brand name. You can get them at Bass Pro Shops and stuff, the original Muck. They didn't have this particular line at the time, so I ordered them online, and I ordered them a little oversized by 1.5, and that allows me to wear thicker socks in them.
Nice.
So those are neoprene and rubberized, and they're waterproof right to the calf, because I do a lot of shooting around water.
Mm.
If you're shooting around dry areas but are really cold, a good pair of Sorels, 40 below boots.
That's what I'm using.
Go and do that. I shoot around a lot of ice and water, so I prefer the knee-high. But these here are not 40 below boots, and I'll just show you that I put an attachment on these. These are stream for fishermen, actually, for walking in streams, but they work fantastic on ice.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
And so I use those. But let me ask you, please, if you're going to be in situations when you're on slippery ice around the water, don't get these.
Oh, yeah.
No, seriously, it's a safety issue. They're okay on a sidewalk. They're great around the city, the inexpensive nylon rubbery silicone ones. They're great on a pair of shoes.
Oh, okay.
But they are not designed for serious outerwear, so either get crampons, and let me screen share it for you for a second again. Let me show you a pair of crampons, and you're going to spend some money on these, but if you're going to be around ice, rock, and snow and water, open water, this might be an option for you. And I'll just scroll down. These are crampons, and these strap right onto your outer boots, whatever you're wearing, and they are literally designed for walking on ice, and climbers wear these. They're climbing crampons.
Right.
You're not going to get those for under $100 and up from there. Like
actually,
even more.
that is exactly what Mike Manis hooked me up with. I got a set of those, and I wore them for the first time Monday. Actually, wore them to work.
Right.
It was slippery.
So I just wanted to say that those crampons are fantastic, and climbers trust their life to them. So these were the ones that I was talking about. This is what they look like out of the box, the ones that for stream fishermen, and they have these titanium little bits, and they grip the ice, and they're excellent. They don't fall off your boots.
Nice. How much does something like that go for, Ron?
I don't recall distinctly, but I think a pair of these was somewhere around $40 or $50.
Oh, so it's not too bad.
No, it's
And you can't really put a price on safety.
True that.
no. And
You
the
can't
other
really
thing,
put a price on not.
and not
Sorry.
break a camera when I fall over?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah. If you're out there
You'll
with a couple
spend
$1,000
$3,000 on a lens, yeah, and
Yeah.
then we won't spend
Yeah.
$50 on ice gear. So finally, I'll talk about snowshoes just for a second. I'm not going to show any, but snowshoes are the all-terrain vehicle for our type of winter. They can go on ice and snow and rock and sand and a mix of everything and slush. Snowshoes are my 90% go-to when I'm in Northern Ontario because they can take me to all these locations and still be safe. A little harder to walk on, unless there's snow, of course, where they're the easiest thing to use, to get through. But they're the all-terrain vehicle. If you've never gone snowshoeing, give it a try. It's a blast, and you'll definitely stay warm. I want to move on from there. Outer layers, like don't wear these great under layers and then put like a cotton shirt on or cotton jeans on. Cotton holds moisture. It's really a bad choice for winter. And so what I do, really simple, and I'm going to show you two options, one expensive, one cheap. They're almost identical. These are fleece pants. These ones are Windstopper pants, and they're made by a company we all know called North Face, and you probably won't get them for under $100 a pair. Okay. This is a pair almost identical. They're not Windstopper, but I wear them under my mud pants, so I don't have to worry about the wind. And I got them for $9 at Value Village. They're fleece. So, yeah, and they both, honestly, they both do exactly the same thing under a pair of mud pants. Okay. So you don't have to spend $100. Speaking of mud pants, we're going to work our way up our body here. I have a pair of these, and these are bib-style Gore-Tex waterproof outdoor mud pants to be worn. I'll just back up. I got them all over the place.
There's just stuff everywhere. Okay, so they're just like hip waders, kind of.
That's them. So those aren't cheap, and in fact, they were more expensive than my coat. They were required. When I went to Antarctica, we go in Zodiacs, and they have to be completely waterproof. So mud pants, just regular old, kind of water-repellent mud pants were great, but if you're going to be around water situations, I can't stress enough, that was the best investment in winter gear I've ever made, and the hardest. I didn't want to spend the money. I went into the store 3 times and left. Wow. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I thought, I could buy a half of a Pro lens for that kind of thing. And so I finally went in and bought it, and my wife said, no, you're doing the right thing. You have to have it. And I literally, that was the best purchase I've made in winter gear in 10 years.
Terry Short suggests a pair at the Running Room for $50. Are you familiar with?
No, but this is the thing. You can get a pair of mud pants that's probably waterproof or repellent for affordably. Those pants were about $700 that I showed you.
Wow. Half of an ice lens.
Yeah, they're guaranteed for life. They're waterproof, not water repellent. They're double Gore-Tex, triple sealed, all those different things you want in more extreme conditions. So you can see the budget can range. And I got along for years just wearing a pair of bib snow pants that I had. And I think I got them at Value Village or at Salvation Army.
Well, it depends. Like you're talking about extreme cold situations like Antarctica. If we don't have the exact situation here, then I wear comfy pants and then I put my jeans over top of that and I layer up over that. And I'm not talking about being out there for days on end and so on.
No.
But for a single evening of photography,
a general pair of snow pants.
Yeah.
Snow pants are excellent.
Yeah.
I couldn't say enough. Like, wear snow pants or even a snowmobile suit if you don't have to hike a lot. Mm-hmm. I hike a lot. If I go up north, for example, like Antarctica right at this time of year, I just came back. It's their summer, so it doesn't get extremely cold, like 40 below, but it gets extremely windy, and so you need wind stopping. It's the most important thing. I want to move up really quickly to the torso, and that is we had the underlayer, and then I use a fleece layer, and depending on how cold it is, if it's around 0, I'll just wear a light fleece, and then a vest, and then maybe a winter coat. The colder it gets, the more I layer. Like you'll see this is a down vest behind me. And down is expensive, but it's the best in the world for regulating heat, not just keeping you warm, but moving between hotter and colder situations. It regulates exceptionally well. Whereas I'm sitting here, I'm kind of hot in the fleece because it doesn't let me cool off as nicely as down does. I have a synthetic vest on that, so I'd layer up with my synthetic vest on top, and then I would put my Gore-Tex coat on, my waterproof coat.
Did you turn the air conditioning on for the show today, Ron?
No, I'm not putting the waterproof coat on. Let me go and grab it for a second.
Poor guy's got to be melting.
I was thinking.
So it's just a simple coat, and the thing is it's waterproof and breathable, and it's durable. As I layer up, all I'm going to do is add layers of down or fleece. Like there's a down Patagonia coat, it's very lightweight, but it will keep you exceptionally warm. And so all I do, especially around the core, is the colder it gets, the more loft I get into my layers. So I wear a heavier, a thicker down, or a full down jacket with a hood.
Mm-hmm.
Then finally, when we get to the top, the head is extremely important. It's next to the feet for the need to keep extremely good. And I'm just going to show you what I use. And I love this kind of thing. Kind of silly looking, but it does the job every time. Hold on a sec.
Cool. And I think this is what Louise was asking us for. How do you keep your face from freezing?
Oh, I've got one of those. Those are awesome.
Here we go. It's got a drawstring here so you can cover your face. It's got the full hat. And I'll still have a cap on underneath. I don't have it right in front of me, but I have a short MEC cap that covers my ears. And this will go over top. And then as it gets colder, if you can cover all of that, you're good to go. Just like that.
Nice.
And this is fleece. It's not expensive. And you could probably find them for $10 somewhere. Like they're not terribly expensive. Mm-hmm. But if you can keep your head warm, your feet warm, and layer out without using cotton, you're great. Finally, I know you want to get to this. Let's get to some gloves.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let me see your gloves. I haven't seen your gloves yet.
Okay, so I've got the, they're called Heat 3. This is my second year using them now. I bought them middle of last year. They are the warmest glove I've ever had. And the great thing is you don't feel warm wearing them. It's got the lining for the fingers on the inside with little hoops, so I can actually just take them off very easily.
Oh, that's awesome.
And when I have this part covered and zippered, I don't feel hot. I don't feel cold. I could wear it like this inside or outside, and my hands are like in this neutral cocoon. It doesn't feel cold. It doesn't feel hot. I'm not getting sweaty. It's like you say, I don't need to worry about my hands sweating and needing that moisture wicked away or anything like that. If it's extremely cold and very windy, then this opens up here, and you can take your hand warmers and slide them just inside, and that'll keep the back of your hand nice and warm. And you can even put them up inside here. And I've also found that since the pocket goes all the way down to my wrist, even further down to the bottom, I can keep change in there. I can keep
store extra pocket warmers.
Extra pocket warmers. I can put my cat in there. Things like that.
Of course,
right? And of course, when you want to, you can just fold this piece here back, and it just magnets onto the back and cinches up on the wrist if I want to. But it's just they're very comfortable. I have a great time. I walk to work every day, so I need a glove that.
I actually want a pair of those. That's next on my list, but I've spent so much already. But I want a pair of those before my next expedition.
They're fantastic, but they're also $200. So
$200 per sec. I noticed that they have gray on the fingertip. Is that the connectivity, like the touch screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can still use your cell phone, and the thumb comes off and has that as well.
Okay.
So you can peel the thumb back.
I'm going to show you a pair of gloves that I tested this year because I needed a pair of gloves that I could go on that keep me warm down to about -5, an average cool winter day. But also, we're waterproof, and I can use them with my camera.
Okay.
So imagine I'm on a ship. I go to what they call gangway. We walk down this cold aluminum plank with rails that are full of wet snow. We get into a Zodiac. It splashes us full of water. And so you always want to bring 2 or 3 pairs of gloves. But I got these gloves, and these are called, the name on them, I'll just show you that. They're called Glacier gloves. I ordered them online. They're called Alaska Pro Glacier gloves, and crabbers use them or something. So somebody said, hey, try these out. And they don't feel like they're going to be really warm. They feel kind of loose on your hand. But the finger and thumb are leather. You can't pull them away or back to shoot with your camera, but they have enough dexterity that I could operate my camera fine without taking my glove off most of the time. I've had them soaking wet, and they still kept my hand remarkably warm. Where I tried many, many different pairs of gloves. I think I brought 5 different pairs of gloves to test. They were the only ones that consistently kept my hands warm when the glove was wet.
Nice.
And so I'll just point that out.
That's where these would fail. If these get wet,
then on the other hand, I put these over top. That's just a Gore-Tex outer glove that's insulated, and they're oversized, and they go over an inner glove. No problem. So when it gets really cold, I'll slip into the bigger glove, and I can throw a pocket warmer in there as well.
Nice.
I do love those gloves you have. In fact, my brother has a pair of those and raves about them. And they're something I would consider investing in because I spend so much time in the cold.
When you do, it makes sense.
Yeah. Finally, glasses. We don't realize this. I have ski goggles for when I'm out, well, in the Zodiac or out. Thing about Antarctica is there's a hole in the ozone, and it'll damage your eyes if you don't wear eye protection. You can get a sunburn in 10 minutes, a severe sunburn in 10 minutes. And so eye protection is really important, but it's hard to shoot through something like that, right? Ski goggles are great for keeping the cold wind off your face, and when you're walking, they're excellent. But when I'm shooting, especially when it's often very cloudy, I have a pair of these and a pair also of just a regular sunglasses. And these protect me from the wind, but they also allow me to get my camera right up to the eyepiece.
Right.
So I don't have to take them off to shoot. When you have to have glasses on to shoot, please don't go buy polarized glasses. You can't see your LCD screen on the back of your camera with polarized glasses on.
That's right.
And if you have an electronic viewfinder, you're done. You have to take the glasses off to shoot.
Then again, could you use a mirrorless camera up there, do you think?
You could use a mirrorless camera, but again, all the electronic viewfinder and the LCD screen are polarized. So if you wear polarized glasses to shoot through a polarized surface, it'll just be whacked on you. Either from no vision to really just odd. You wouldn't be able to see the exposure properly.
Ron, Christina has a question. She asked about the cost of the Alaska Pro gloves.
I wish I had the invoice here. I think I paid $40 Canadian for them.
Not bad.
Yeah, and I can share the link to those with you guys afterward. I'll find the link.
Sure.
Where I picked those up. I think I got them through eBay. I think they're about $40, and they are waterproof and breathable, but truly waterproof.
Gary has a question. He asks if you have a solution to prevent your nose from freezing to the camera screen.
Yes, I do, Gary. Don't touch the camera screen with your nose.
There's a story there.
Yeah, that picture I showed you. Let me get back to that. I love this picture. I'm gonna screen share this picture in a sec here.
Yeah,
so I just want you guys to take a look at this picture. And if you look at my plastic screen, someone said you can't get frostbite from a plastic screen. Oh yes, you can. My nose hit that plastic screen at 25 below, and it felt like a bee stung my nose, just real quick. It was like a pinch, right? And I thought, ow, that hurt. And then the next day, my nose was bright red, and the next day after that, it peeled.
Oh, jeez.
So I got mild frostbite from touching my nose to the back of my camera. In this situation, if you have a scarf or like a hat, like I showed you, that covers your nose and mouth, wear that, and that way you're not actually physically touching the back, the glass, or any metal parts that are on your camera that may be there.
Do you carry a chamois cloth or something like that?
Oh, good question. I love this. This is a great show.
Well, you get that out. I went on, did a little quick search, and you can get, it looks like the Glacier Alaskan Pro gloves on Amazon for anywhere from $25 to $40.
Excellent.
So first thing that comes up on Google when you search it.
Okay.
What was that? What did you find? Sorry, my earplugs fell out.
The gloves that you had.
Oh, good.
On Amazon.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, it was Amazon I got them from, actually. So here is a microfiber cloth. I keep a couple of those around. And I like to have 2 different colors. And I'll tell you why I do that. Because my nose runs a ton in the cold. Okay. And so I have a white one that I use for the camera, and I have a colored one I use to blow my nose in. If I had 2 white ones, I would mistake the one for the other and wipe my lens with my other. You know what I'm saying.
I preach the white towel. I love the white towel.
And I got to tell you, I throw them, if it starts to rain or snow heavy, I throw it right over top of my camera. It protects it. You know, I don't have to throw a bag over it quite yet. Yeah, Brian, you got that white towel.
Yeah, there's a brand called Talit. Tali. Talii. I was at this.
Brian, we lost your picture.
What? You
We
lost
lost
me.
your picture.
Oh, I still got his picture. It's just going
Oh,
in
okay.
and out.
I just lost it. Oh, he's back. Never mind. Sorry.
Hi, here I am. So, Talii. These towels are basically a chamois, but they're just a really nice sized towel. They're very absorbent, very soft, machine washable. I don't know where you can find them. I'm trying to work out the deal with these guys to get them with the Day Tripper kind of logo on there because they're awesome. I really, really like them.
Yeah, I noticed that your camera cuts out the more you do hand waving and stuff. So that's that's just Google trying to keep up with you, Brian.
I'm just too fast for Google.
You are. But
Okay.
yeah, that's a great point. Is I always have a microfiber cloth. That chamois sounds like it'd be a great deal, but when you're out in those conditions, your lens frosts up, your camera's frost up, your glasses frost up.
Mhm.
And you just want to be able to give them a quick wipe with something. That's,
Gary asked a question earlier. I think it's a really good point. He asks thoughts or cares about freezing fresh versus salt water on your camera.
they all can do damage. The good thing about it, if it freezes, it's not going inside the camera, and you can wipe it off with one of these cloths when it happens. Salt water is the worst for anything, for tripods, for cameras, for everything. I was dealing with a lot of salt water spray this year, and my tripod, one of my tripods, still has a lot of salt water, little white ridges around the seams, and I've washed it and washed it. I think I'll never get rid of them. But this is an area where the better the equipment, the more it's going to last. But you need to wash your equipment down, wipe it down afterward with a kind of dry, damp cloth, just to get the salt spray off. Salt water is bad for things.
Very bad. Yeah, well, salt is, it conducts electricity, and that's the last thing you want to have getting inside your camera. Elle, thank you so much for posting that. It's the link for tallystowels.com
Awesome.
shop.
Thanks, Al.
Very cool stuff, and the lady who owns the company, I was talking to her at the CNA, she's just really, really great. Excellent. She's very open to talking about working with businesses, and just I think it's a very smart product. Don says, hey, Ron, what did the snow look like down there? Did you bring a macro lens with you? By the way, for those who are in the know who watch our show regularly, this is where you take your first shot of the night. There you go. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, that's great. The snow, honestly, Don, the snow looks the same, of course, but the water and the light, yeah, I cannot even begin to explain the difference in the quality of light and the rapid change in weather. It's said that Antarctica is the coldest, highest, driest, windiest place on the planet. And in spite of all the water, it is one of the driest. You dehydrate really quickly. And it's windy. But weather, I don't think you can actually forecast the weather there. You take your best guess, and 10 minutes later, it could change. I got a picture I want to show you of one of those examples. So, Don, the snow looks the same, but the light is out of this world. In fact, it was a conundrum to me. It was, how do I photograph this? How do I translate what I'm seeing? It was like, for the first couple of weeks down there, I didn't know how to deal with it. It was so bizarre.
It's a good thing to go for an extended period of time, because a thing like this would take some time to adjust to before you found your bearings, I would think.
Yeah, it is an adjustment. So here, I'm showing a screen share. Those are penguins. Those little dots are not ants. They're penguins. This is a place, Waterboat Point, I think, if I remember correctly. These are pretty big mountains. There's even more mountains going up past these clouds in the background that you don't see. But if you look at the light in the background here, I'll zoom in as best I can. There's mountains back here. You can see it's snowing. You can see here it's clearing. See here, these are all penguins on a rookery, and then the icebergs that have come in. That the light is just like nothing you've seen before. So I'll just show you some. There's snow falling, and I'll just zoom in down there. You can see the snow falling amongst icebergs, and you don't have to crank up your saturation for icebergs. Polarizers can do tricks. You can put a polarizer on, but if you use a polarizer in Antarctica, don't shoot up towards the sky, because the air is so dry and the sun at such an angle that it just turns your skies black.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they just go black. So you don't have to use a lot of saturation. This is really, honestly, the color of the icebergs in the water. They're so dense that they only transmit the blue light spectrum. And Don, you'll get that. Um, so yeah, so I
That's
just wanted
amazing.
to share that.
Christina has another question. How do you keep the lens clear in this kind of weather?
You know what the trick is, Christina, is once your camera is the same temperature as the air, and it's colder than about -5 Celsius, the camera it'll just fall off of the camera. It won't stick to it.
See, that's the problem I think we run across more here than there. Is here it gets so much warmer, so much colder. You have fluctuations, so you're going to get the frost forming on the lens. You're going to get a lot of things, issues like that. So, even having a chamois cloth in that in-between weather, that will help keep that away. You do have to be careful with coatings on lens lenses, of course. And what about the fog clear, anti-fog cloth? Did you have to use?
I've tried that a few times, and it does work. I still am apprehensive because there is that kind of that gas-looking film that it leaves behind, but it's never affected an image I've taken. So yeah, it has helped in keeping the fog away. I do have that cloth. I could probably pull it out if I look in my bag. But.
Yeah, see, LensPen, as you all know, we love LensPen here at Daytripper. They have this fog clear, and I've not had an opportunity to use it. The only time I've needed it, I didn't have it at the time. It's when I was shooting a time lapse, just like in the fall. It wasn't really a cold day, but as it got colder in the evening, the lens fogged up, and a couple minutes into the time lapse, the entire video or whatever was ruined. So.
If you're doing later time lapses, you can strap once you're set, especially for landscape. You can elastic band or just Velcro a hand warmer to your lens, and then it'll stop it from frosting up.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, if other questions come in through the Q&A, we can keep getting back to that. But in the meantime, what other things do you like to shoot in the wintertime, Ron? I mean, the landscape is obviously a big thing, but
wildlife for sure. I'll show you. Maybe I'll show you wildlife in the winter. I mean, Antarctica. It goes without saying. I'll do a screen share. Antarctica goes without saying. The wildlife is insane. I wish I had time to show you lots of this stuff, but the wildlife has no fear because there's no human predation down there. There's no fear in the animals, so you could shoot stuff like this. This penguin was quite close to me. In fact, you put on your long lens and then you switch cameras to your wide-angle camera. I was going to say take your lens off, but I don't. I use two cameras in the cold.
That's one of the points we have later, yeah.
One with the telephoto, but shots like that, or the comical shots, the having a bickering contest here, and this is just the penguins, but you get to shoot stuff that in the winter that are just so unique. You get to shoot other wildlife. There's somebody who's wild shooting some ice formations on Georgian Bay with snowshoes. And you see, this is what I was mentioning before. Snowshoes are all-terrain vehicles. You could walk right out on ice with them without slipping, and then walk off onto the rocks and then into the forest in the snow. So,
when you said snowshoes, I was thinking back when I'd go snowshoeing with my father with those big, huge things.
Big wooden things.
Snowshoes today, the aluminum and titanium and the meshing, they're lightweight, they're easy to put on and easy to take off.
I should wear those to work. Those look fantastic.
Yeah.
They have that claw part on the bottom.
Yeah, they got a claw on the bottom. It's really good. You can see here the person that's shooting here, I think this is Ted on a day out. He's just got a day bag. He has two cameras and that's it. So you kind of minimize gear. You think to yourself, what am I likely going to use? And leave the rest at home, because the last thing you want to do is be lugging around 50 pounds of equipment. You just want to be able to change quickly with your gloves on and shoot pictures.
Right.
One last point. I have a robust tripod back here. Let me unscreen share for a second. We talk about gear and dressing for it, but let's just make one mention of equipment. Let me figure out where my screen share button is. I just want to say that I shoot most of the time with I have a Manfrotto tripod. I have a aluminum and a carbon version, and a really simple head. This isn't the most expensive head they have. This is a pretty simple head, and it only has really two controls and a tension. One control is for the tripod head, period, all angles, and it loosens everything. One oversized turning knob, and my quick release, and that's it. And the quick release I took the lock piece off it, so it just comes off its plate. Let me put my earbuds back on, and I say that because you can spend a lot of money on some really fancy equipment, and when it's cold and freezing and ice is on stuff, it'll lock up every little piece of your fancy equipment. But if it's simple and it only has 1 or 2 controls and you can operate it with gloves, it's great for winter shooting.
Yeah, is that the 496 RC2 head?
It's
From the 190X Pro V.
Yeah.
I can't read 496. Yeah, RC2. Yeah. And it's not super smooth and it's not super fancy, but it's super durable.
Yeah, but for $100 and change, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, and you can operate it in the cold weather. And I'm telling you, I punish it. I seriously punish it. The other one I just tried, and I've never endorsed this company Vanguard here before. They sent me some stuff to test, and honest to goodness, for 5 weeks, this was on my tripod 90% of the time. And once again, it's got really simple, oversized controls. It has a little bit of a nylon inner washer, which makes the head remarkably smooth with a big, like I had my 400 millimeter lens on this all the time. And so it's remarkably smooth. If I switched to video and just adjusted the tension slightly, I could pan pretty smooth with it. And that was really surprising to me. I don't know the cost of this head. It's not a cheaper one of theirs. It's their what they consider their Pro line. But I was unusually impressed by that piece of gear on their Pro tripod. And I did use it extensively for 5 straight weeks, and it was wet, it was salt water, it was frozen, it was dry, it was cold, it was wet again, and it didn't fail, and I don't baby my equipment. So I just wanted to mention that was a Vanguard product.
That's the.
So basically, what you're saying is never buy any used hardware from you.
Actually, I very rarely sell it because I tell people I put my stuff, then you can see it on it. You know, there's going to be marks and dents and scratches from rocks. And,
yeah, this is the head I have up screen sharing right now. I think this is on your head.
Yeah, I actually have the 200 version of that same ball head.
Oh, that's the 200 you had there.
A little more affordable, but you know, they did a number of things right. I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that in their prosumer kind of lines, I in the past haven't been that happy with them. In their Pro line, both of this and the tripod they sent me, I was remarkably, unusually impressed. And so I'm going to do a review on that. But
there you go, 265.
Yeah, 265 for that ball head, and performed really well.
Nice. And Don, you are most welcome. Actually, that's the tripod head I was showing Don last week.
How about that?
Yeah, he agrees. It's very easy to use.
Yeah, and for me, if you know me, I need things to be dead simple. When you're cold and the wind is blowing and there's a lot of things to think about, the last thing you want to think about is how to stay warm or how to adjust your gear. It's just got to be dead simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right, Lil, what do we have next here? There's lots of stuff that people say that, you know, the standard things that you hear when people are talking about shooting in cold. So let's go over them. You kind of mentioned a bunch of them already. Batteries. Have at least 2 batteries, one on the body, one in the camera. That's what I would suggest. Close to the body, you said into your inside pocket, pant pocket.
Yeah, close to either you have an inside breast pocket or an inside pant pocket. Sometimes the inside pant pocket is hard to access if you have snow pants on.
And if you're crouching a lot and you're bending over and, you know, getting down low for shots, that can be uncomfortable. So yeah, on their body, and if you're wearing one of those body warmers, those, what do you call those things? I just had up here. So
body warmers. Put it on the inside pocket close to that.
Yeah, just get it near there. Ziploc bag. Have a Ziploc with you. You mentioned this right off the bat on the show. If you have a little Ziploc, that's the reason. There you go. Always carry. He's got a nice big one there. The nice thing about that is if you put your camera inside the bag, before you put it inside your camera bag, when you get back in the house, any condensation forms will form on the outside of the bag, saving your camera. Phil, I believe you have a story about something like one of these.
Yeah, nice like waterproof, super weather sealed bag. I had a camera in it in an air-conditioned room, so the exact opposite shooting situation. You know, nice cold room, super hot outside. Possibly where I like to shoot a bit more. The bag acted kind of like a cooler, and so it
Kinda.
took so long for the camera to cool down that when I wanted to shoot something, as soon as I opened the bag, it just immediately, condensation on everything, and I couldn't get it clear in time.
Now,
It's very disappointing.
let me share an experience. I used to go to the zoo in the winter. I love shooting in the zoo in the winter. It's wonderful. You can shoot the animals. They're more active in the winter. And you can go into the pavilions and get the exotic stuff. Well, you go outside from 10 below, inside to 90 degrees humidity, it's going to be a real issue.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do now when I go to the zoo, when I was younger, I only had one camera and 2 lenses, and I would change lenses inside. I'd go inside and change lenses, and I didn't understand the principle of this, and I thought, the camera's going to be able to take it. Well, years later, I thought it was okay, and I went to sell some of my really nice Nikon equipment, my lenses, and there was little black spots inside the lens. And that turned out to be lens mold.
Yep.
And the reason it happened was my zoo trips of going from cold to humid without protection. And so it doesn't necessarily mean your camera's going to fail in the electronic department. It might simply mean you're going to get lens mold. And when that happens, your lens is done.
It's done. And there's no trade-in. There's no selling it. Anybody who knows anything will see that right away and say, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And so those lenses were trash. And I learned my lesson at that time.
Well, on that note, something else that you want to keep with you would be lens cleaners. We kind of talked about that, either having a chamois cloth or something that you can keep your lenses clean. But like you say, Ron, if it gets cold enough and you're in that cold weather continuously, once the temperature dips below, what'd you say, -5?
Usually around -5. The camera gets cold enough to have nothing really stick too hard to it.
Yeah, and as long as it doesn't warm up and get cold and warm up and get cold from that point, it should be okay, right?
Yeah, and if you're going from warm to cold and warm to cold, you do want to let the camera warm up and cool off slowly in a controlled environment.
That's right. Yeah.
And not just run outside with it, from your 22-degree house to the -22-degree outside.
Yeah, so if you're shooting like a lunar eclipse in the middle of February, leave your camera outside as you're shooting it. Don't bring it in and out every time.
But maybe bring the battery with you, so when you want to take a picture, you actually have a battery that works.
I'm going to share a picture. I just want to do a little bit of a... I was a hard sell. There's a lot of talk about mirrorless and quality, and I'm not... If you know me, I'm not a gearhead at all. I like gear that works. That's if you want to know what I am. I don't care what the name on it is. Give me something that works.
Right.
And I'm going to do a little bit of a brag, and I'm going to show a picture here, and then I'm going to zoom in on it. Hopefully, I can zoom in on it here. Oh, do you know where I can get to it? I can access it. Oh, no, I can't. Darn, I'm not on my laptop. Anyway,
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how I can access the image that I want to show you. I'm going to go to a collection anyway. Let me do a screen share. I'm going to go to a collection. I'm going to try and zoom, but I just want to show you something crazy that I ran into. So when shooting birds, I shot this shot of what's called a caracara bird. And if we look at my photo details, you're going to see that this was shot with a Nikon D750 at almost 400 millimeters at 3200 ISO at 12/50th of a second. And when I zoomed in on this on my desktop, I can't quite do it here, but it's a dark bird in a soft light situation. And I zoom into this, when I zoomed in at 100%, this picture that you're seeing is almost the raw, except the exposure was brought down because I overexposed it by 1 EV. See that down here?
Mm-hmm.
When you have your equipment out there, it's better, and Brian, you're a fan of this, it's better to have a noisy, sharp image than miss the shot.
That's right.
So when you're shooting birds that could move, and this one did later, in a few seconds it flew, and I was able to get the shot, I could not believe shooting at 3200 ISO because I needed to handhold at a 400 millimeter lens.
Right.
That there is almost zero detectable digital noise.
Oh, I could go off on a tangent right now.
Now that's the most gear talk you're going to hear from me tonight.
Yeah, we touched on it last week. Ron, I don't know if you've heard, but the new Nikon D500 or D5, the D500 can go to 1.6 million ISO.
Yeah.
And the D5 can go to over 3 million. Oh. But
we're all sitting here wondering when's Nikon going to keep up with the technology, and then they release something like that, right?
Yeah.
And the D500 has a touch screen.
Tilt screen. I'm wanting one. I'm officially putting it out there. A Nikon D500 is going to be in my kit one day.
I'd almost say that, I mean, nowadays, nobody's making a bad camera. You know, you're just a bad photographer.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, I don't know.
I just the headline of somebody's title that they shared on Google Plus.
I shared that post. You know what? That was one of my most commented on posts in the last 6 months. It had great comments.
Oh, really?
One of the things I love about Google Plus is the conversations we have, because we're all, you know, my community there is photographers.
Mm-hmm.
And I did post it on Facebook, and I had one friend, a bit of a hater, and was high above it and refused to read it and said he wouldn't comment it on because our real photographer wouldn't even click on that.
Oh my gosh!
You're allowed to have fun.
It was fun. It was like it was a rant. The guy said it was a rant. It was just fun.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah.
What you do? But yeah,
so
you're absolutely right.
My point of all that is, get the equipment that does the job. I don't care what brand it is, and make it as simple as possible. I mean, that's a secret to life, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I've been walking around. I got my hands on this one here. It's a point and shoot, the Sony RX103.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a little point and shoot. It's a 2470, and I just had it on the passenger side of my car. And whenever I see something cool, I just pull over. I mean, it takes amazing pictures.
Well, it should. It's about a $750 camera.
Well, but
yes,
still,
it's a $750 point and shoot.
Still, it's literally a point and shoot.
It's a 1-inch sensor, Carl Zeiss lens, best processor out there. It's a great point and shoot.
Yeah.
You know what that is, right?
I
This
realize
one
it
here.
was.
You guys know what that is?
What is?
Oh, how are you finding that?
So the DxO1, for those of you who don't know, DxO Labs has been, you know, famous for their camera reviews and in-depth camera studies. They've come out with some new software, and to go with their new software, they've come out with this handy little high-end 20-megapixel camera that plugs into an iPhone. And so the little plug comes out, you plug it into an iPhone, it turns your iPhone into the camera interface that can shoot RAW, DNG format, at 20 megapixel, full manual to complete priority mode shooting and video. I like this.
Cool.
You know, it goes on, and I don't have my iPhone here, but it tilts up and it tilts down when it's on your camera.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, and it's very portable, and it actually shoots nice, high-quality images. But the one caveat, and I'll give them feedback about this, is the battery is crap in cold weather. So for me, I was doing panos with my iPhone, and I would plug this in, and I'd take 2 pictures, and the battery would be dead.
Oh, jeez.
Well, the battery's not dead. It's just cold, so I'd have to keep it, you know. But as soon as I brought it out and it warmed up, it would stop working. So whatever the battery is on this DxO team, I just want to let you know, it's a great concept. It's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed using it, but you got to improve the cold weather performance for us Canadians.
I've just heard a couple of people saying that having the interface of having one module plug into a thin iPhone with just the small lightning adapter can be cumbersome because you can't ever really just hold it with one hand.
I didn't have an issue with it. It's the nature of what it is, so you're aware of it, but the connection is fairly solid. I was surprised.
But wouldn't it be better to just have like a Bluetooth connection, have it be wireless or something?
It would be absolutely, you know, much better. But
maybe
speed and responsiveness.
Maybe,
you know? Dawn asked the question: can the battery life be impacted by extreme cold? Yes, but if it's a NiMi battery, it should still work at cold temperatures.
Actually, one of the things I'm very anxious about with the new Nikon cameras is their new Bluetooth connectivity. So now you can actually Bluetooth your phone directly or your tablet directly to the DSLR and use that to tether or use that to control your camera like a remote without Wi-Fi cutting in and out all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't have to re-up all your technology every time you want to connect it. It remembers, just like you get into a car that has
remember devices.
Exactly. As soon as you get into that zone, your music starts to play. So you don't have to reconnect all the time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm really looking
forward to it. And the power requirements for Bluetooth is a lot more friendly than Wi-Fi.
Less battery drain. But, I mean, these are all things that well, I love talking about technology.
Yeah, we can go off on that tangent.
We can,
but
but
we've
that's
already
not
done it.
Exactly. Too late. But I just want to. We're winding down to the end of the show. Ron, have you got any other stories that you want to share about your Antarctica experience before we say goodnight and give our quote of the day?
Well, you know what I could say about Antarctica is it took a lot to get there. It's not a trip everyone can make in their lifetime. It's for many people a once in a lifetime trip. As a photographer and artist, it was remarkably overwhelming. And if you just had a week, it would feel like you got ripped off. But you get what you get, right? If the cruise I was on, some of the minimum cruises are like 9 and 10 days anyway. I had the benefit of being hired by One Ocean, and I was there for 5 weeks. And by the end of the 5 weeks, I really started to get a feel for how I wanted to shoot that environment. The one thing I can say is it's a scale like nothing you've ever seen before. Pictures can't even begin to communicate the scale of the Antarctic land and seascape. And it's something I'll be going back to. In fact, I was invited. I already have 4 trips booked in the next 12 months with the One Ocean.
Nice. Good for you.
And so I'll be going back. I'll be going to Norway and Northern Canada, Northwest Passage, and back down to sub-Antarctic and Antarctica.
Wow.
And I'm addicted. Like one trip, and I'm addicted. Like it's incredible.
Well, you and I spoke about this off air previously, but you got to give your wife a lot of credit for being okay with these trips, because not only is it tough to get on these trips and do them, but you have a home life as well, and you can't ignore one for the other. And it's really excellent that she gives you this time to do these things and enjoy them.
I'll say this publicly anywhere and anytime. I am the most fortunate man in the world. I really am. I get up every morning and I do what I was born to do. I'm passionate, and not everybody gets to do that.
No, you can't ask for more.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share all that with all you guys. So.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your experiences. And you've got an open pass. Anytime you want to come back, you're welcome. Just let me know. It's always good to have you on, Ron.
I'm just going to share one more tip about winter photography. And back when I was doing a lot of winter photography a few years ago, my main warmer, like my gloves and jacket and pants and shoes and hat and everything, were all made by the same manufacturer, Ford Focus. So I'd find a nice area, I would set up my camera, do a time lapse or a long exposure, and sit in my car and play video games on my phone until it was, ready. You don't have to stand outside the entire time.
I'm not so sure how that is on the greenhouse gases footprint.
No, you don't run the motor the whole time. That's and actually even sometimes on longer exposures, I bring a small space heater and just plug it in I have an adapter in my car and just run that on low to keep it warm. But sometimes I would sit out there for 45 minutes if I was shooting down by Lake Ontario or something like that. But a lot of times I was shooting just 3 minutes from the side of a road in a field or something. I just sit in the car.
Yeah. I always thought this is how you like to stay warm.
Yes, by accidentally setting myself on fire a couple times. That's right,
yeah. And not so accidentally.
Warmer than a fire.
Well, on that note, just to remind everybody, on the 24th of January, we have our next Fire on Ice session. We were almost calling it Fire on Water or Fire on Grass, but it looks like we might actually have some ice to stand
Fire
on.
Where the heck is the ice?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Canadian winter, so it could go back to grass. You never really know.
If anybody wants to learn how to make photos like what I just pulled up here, the burning steel wool, or just to gain control of your camera in very low light situations, there are still spaces available. Session's only $100, and it's going to be a blast. It's 4 hours, an hour of class time, 3 hours of actual shooting time with us chirping over your shoulder the whole time. And all these tips that we've talked about will help you because it's outside in the middle of winter. So could be a lot of fun. Just go to the Q&A here. I just want to say thanks to all of you. It was a fun and informative hangout. You're very welcome, Christina. Thank you for watching. And then, of course, Heather says thanks for a great night. Elle says thanks for a fantastic show. Keep warm out there, folks. That's amazing. Thank you, guys, and thank you for watching. Ron, Phil, Gabriel, as always, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I just want to remind everybody again, whoever's watching, please join the Day Tripper Photo community on Google+. That's where we that's our hub. That's where all the magic happens. As Ron, I mean, Ron is a brilliant community leader. He knows how to get people engaged and so on. And I think Ron would attest to the fact that the Day Tripper community is one of those rare gems out there where people can go to and get that inspiration they're looking for without feeling funny about it. At least
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a place where people that are going through exactly what you're going through meet and talk and work it out. It is a fantastic community.
Thank you. So like, subscribe, and share with your friends our YouTube channel, because we have a great time doing this. This is episode 157, so we've done a few of them.
A couple.
Hopefully we'll do a few more. That would be great. And don't forget also that the current photo challenge right now is self-portrait, and that photo is due Wednesday, January 20th. It's a week today. Make a fun self-portrait and share it with the community. Let us see what you're up to. It's a lot of fun to do these things. I was going to do one tonight with the camera facing me right here, but I don't like what's going on here, so I'm just going to wait. Do that another time. And I just want to have you guys kind of run down the list here and say, where can folks find you next? Where can folks hire you if they're looking to take advantage of your services? Ron, why don't you start with that?
Well, easiest way, ronclifford.com and hit contact, ronclifford@gmail.com, or just type in Ron Clifford on your browser and something will pop up regarding photography.
Have you got any sessions that people are going, like
you know what I'm doing? I've been holding off on booking sessions because I'm trying to plan my travel this year. I was going to do a spring nature session, which may actually be put on hold for a portrait workshop. That stay in touch, because that's likely to happen. 99% there will be a full day or 2-day portrait workshop, which may be local, but it may be north. I am about to open my studio, so I'm going to have an opening, drop-in opening for that.
Oh, cool.
Between the beginning of February and the beginning of March. So it's drywalled, it's trimmed, I'm doing the floors, the electrical gets hooked up at the end of this month, and it's going to be ready to roll. So.
Well, if there's an invite there for the DTP crew, we'll all come by and give our support for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome. Phil, where can folks get a hold of you? Do you have your stuff set up yet?
Not really. Currently, Google Plus is probably the best way to do it.
Have you turned your notifications on?
So questions, and I'll do whatever I can to answer it for you.
As long as you turn your notifications on, right?
I learned that I should do that today, and now I actually get them. It was great.
Right.
Excellent.
It's quite
We just thought you didn't
customizable.
like us.
And Gabe, how about yourself? I hear you got a couple shoots coming up in the next couple of days. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got a lot of driving tomorrow. I got one in the morning in Waterloo and then one in the afternoon in Hamilton. So.
Ooh, all over.
Yeah,
Wow.
but can't complain, I'm happy as long as I have a camera in my hand. And yeah, you can contact me at Bousquet Photography. It's BOUSQUET, photography.ca.
Excellent. And thanks again, everybody, one last time. And the quote of this show is, of course, there will always be those who look only at techniques, who ask how, while others, of more curious nature, will ask why. Personally, I always preferred inspiration to information. That's from Man Ray. I love that quote just because, it happens all the time. People ask us, what lens should I use? What camera should I use? What this should I use? What that should I use? It's not about that. It's about being creative and thinking outside the box. And rather than getting information, you give inspiration. And I think having Ron on the show, it couldn't be more fitting for somebody like you who is born to inspire. So
Well, thank you.
thank you, my friend, and thank you, everybody, one last time. Just going to say goodnight to everybody now, and we'll see y'all next week. Oh, by the way, next week's show is going to be our sorry, it's going to be the review show for the Photo Channel Self-Portrait, and the show after that is when we're starting our Tips and Techniques show. So stay tuned. The first show in the Tips and Techniques, I'm thinking, is going to be tilt-shift lenses, and I have a fella that I plan on asking to be on our show for that. So you might have to take a shot, but we'll see how it goes. What? Hint, hint. Anyway, guys, have a good night. Thank you all for being on the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.